welcome to another edition of the One Team We Agree On. I'm Jillian.
And I'm Kyle. How are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. How about you?
Good. Back for episode 2 of this week.
Yeah.
Now we're fully in the playoff season. We got Union 2. We got the first team on Sunday. And year 3, this gentleman came on, episode 100. We're now at episode 160. I felt it would be appropriate. A good friend, somebody we've met along the way, had this year probably felt like so many travel.
Traveled a lot. Yeah.
Yes, and
What's
just
the
met
most
up.
away matches we've ever been?
Yes, and just somebody that everybody listening to Pod knows. The voice of Philadelphia Union. He's been on radio for the U.S. Open tennis, and he's done for ESPN. He's done swimming, he's done track and field, he's done basketball. Ladies and gentlemen, the voice of the Philadelphia Union, Mr. Dave Leno. Dave, welcome back again for a third time.
Kyle, Jillian, thank you so much for that introduction. I always love being with you both. You know, I'm a huge proponent and fan of your work with the first team, with Union 2, with the Academy. And I know everybody listening or watching us would echo all of that. I want to first say thank you again for having me. You guys do a wonderful job on this platform with your writing and your interviews. You bring out a lot of what many of us don't even know about these terrific athletes, not just the human interest stories, but your recaps. And you get all these tidbits from Ryan Richter, from Bradley Carnell, and others. It's so nice for the fan base. So thank you again for having me. I like being 160. I remember when I was a bowler, I wish I had a 160 average, and then I soared past that to over 200. So 160 maybe rings a bell my freshman year of high school. So grateful to be back on with you both.
I appreciate the kind words, and we're so happy to have you on. Every time it's been fantastic.
And funny story, I've never cracked 200 in bowling. So,
Ah,
I'm lucky
listen,
if I crack 100,
I'm
I
going to
think,
give
because
you
I'm kind
I'm
of,
going to give you a quick
yeah,
quick story. I know we have a lot to get to, and I
yeah,
go off on tangents,
go
but
for it.
go for
little
it.
do people know, because I know you guys like a lot of behind the scenes stuff.
Mhm.
I was a professor at Indiana University in Bloomington in the
Hmm.
Big Ten.
Mhm.
Not only was I a journalism major and a kinesiology minor, but I was an E117 bowling professor my junior
Oh,
and senior
Hmm.
year. So I can work on that average with you, and we can escalate that over to a 200. I think we can eclipse it.
Nice.
we might have to take you
And
up on that. That
Leave it
might
to the
act,
leave it to the professor, and we'll meet you on the lanes, Kyle.
yes, we need to go bowling sometime
this
because
might be some
help
fun,
me knock the
like,
gutter balls.
social media content that we could just all have a good
That
time
would
with.
be a blast. Yeah, no, I'm like feast or famine. I either like roll strikes or I end up with like gutter ball, and I'll get like I'll hit nine. I do this a lot. I'll like hit nine and then it goes in the gutter.
Well, let's talk about what we're wearing today because again,
Yes,
Kyle got home from work and is wearing his work apparel. So Kyle once
I'll
again is
drop the
wearing.
ball.
Yeah, once again, Kyle dropped the ball. It's okay. Dave, what are you wearing? Because that looks like a lot of some old school warm-up
This is
tops.
an old school like tracksuit warm up. I don't want to blind everybody if I get the zipper going a little bit lower. Maybe we need to blind our next opponent, right? But yeah, it's a long zip up, comfy tonight. Um, I got the kids in bed, and you can hear me with half a voice. I apologize for that. When you have two kids under 5,
Yeah.
um, bound to get that. But I'll be ready to go for Sunday's playoff game, no doubt, with a full voice. And I'm really, really excited. Always love this. When I can fit into the old gears, I have that athlete in me. I play a lot of
Mhm.
tennis here at home and other sports as well. So when I kind of put on this gear, and I don't know if this is from heck 16, 17, 18, it still fits, and thank goodness.
Nice. No, I love that. That's really sharp looking. So
So,
love
thank you.
it. Yeah, I am wearing the playoff t-shirt from 2021. This was my
Oh,
favorite one. I love that snake around the lightning bolt.
yeah,
And
nice.
yeah, so I always told Kyle, I'm like, I don't have any tattoos, but if I got one, if I was going for something union, it would 100% be the snake because I love that logo.
Yeah. Um, And before we get into this, Dave, going back to not this Saturday, we'll talk about that match, but the following Saturday, when the Union supported Shield, you were there with Hudson, your son.
Yes.
What was that like celebrating and holding the shield with your son? And I mean, we can clip this out if you want to, but I just like to hear that moment as a
Yeah.
father to hold that with your son.
No, please include it. I appreciate the question. I first got into the union with 2016. And at that point, my wife, uh, Tori, and I have known each other for a long time, not to go too much into the weeds
Yeah.
personally, but, I wasn't, a dad then. And to see my whole journey just with my union job
Hmm.
go from a guy that was just dating this girl that I previously went to day camp, and she went to the other high school than me, but we knew each other. Both of our sisters know each other, and then you kind of fast forward where I had my son right before COVID, Hudson, right
Hmm.
before COVID, and then kind of go through that season and as he's being born and my life's really changing, and then you fast forward. I'm kind of making a long story short to then the 2025 where he is so into, and some of you that follow me on social media may know, he's so into soccer, loves playing. He loves the union, loves it. And it's not like something I push to him. He's 5.5, so he knows what I do. He can, watch me on TV doing the union and the other things that I do, or listen to me on the radio. Um, but he goes on my phone and goes on the MLS app and looks up where the Union are, previous scores, knows all the teams, how to do it. It's great for, for his education too.
Yeah.
And then to just see him lift this shield, right, that we won when he was born,
Hmm.
right? We lifted it in 2020. I made the call then. Granted, only 2,000 fans and a bunch of cardboard cutouts because of limited attendance due to the pandemic. And then for him to be there, my wife Tori, unfortunately, my daughter's now 19 months, so Logan wasn't there. But just to celebrate with them and uh, and for him to see the shield, touch it, hold it a little bit with me. I mean, that thing's heavy, as both of you know. It's
Hmm.
35 pounds, I believe.
Yeah, it is.
And it's really beautiful. I'm glad we got to
Hmm.
see the real one. I know everybody's heard that joke about the Captain America one back in
Hmm.
20. But that was really special. And I appreciate that question, Kyle, because I look back at my time with the Union. It's hard to believe I've been with the team 10 seasons. So, I work with Shane Williams, Sebastian Latou, that are day one guys. So I hear the stories of what it was like before I got there from 10 to 15. And then I feel like it was like we kept calling it with Ernie Stewart Union
Hmm.
2.0 or 3.0
Hmm.
pathway to the pros with Derek Jones and Ryan Richter was involved. That was the original voice of Bethlehem Steel back in 2016. And then, backing up JP on TV and doing the pregame, halftime, having postgame shows, now doing radio play by play. It's been quite the trek, and I've seen a lot with our team, and I'm just so honored, privileged, and grateful to be a part of it, and to call another um, trophy, game-winning call. It's a supporter shield. I know everybody still wants MLS Cup, and hopefully we can get it this year. But that really meant a lot to me, and going through my phone as I often do when I'm traveling, and revisiting those pictures and that celebration, and also parting with all the fans too, right? The sellout crowd. You guys were there. A lot of people writing how they were tearful moments, crying, just everything that we've been through, and we can get into this how kind of nobody nationally gave us a chance after we changed coach, system, formation, all that, which I'm sure we'll get into.
Yeah.
Um, I'm so happy to celebrate with that and to actually hold it. For me personally, it meant a lot too. For the small little slice that I play into everything. It was nice that the staff, the players, the coaches, and the fans and the Sons of Ben afforded me that opportunity to hoist that shield for a little bit.
Yeah, like just amazing moment. I'm so glad you were able to do that. I mean, what a special moment with Hudson. And honestly, yeah, it was just, the calls were iconic and what a moment. I can speak from, I was in the river end during that. I was just
Yeah.
in that mode for the match. Kyle's up in the press box, and I can tell you, I mean, yeah, people were emotional. It was quite the scene. So, um,
I mean, I
yeah.
can share my moment with you, Dave.
Please.
So when that corner kick right there at the end, which was kind of gonna
Hmm.
ice it,
Yeah.
I just remember I've never seen the entire press box stand up and just everybody had their phones. I was probably the only one that didn't have their phone going. I was just sitting there
You were
standing
taking
just
it in, which is probably the better way to do it.
I
Everybody, I
actually
mean, I'm
when
guilty of this. I'm on my phone a lot too. I
look
I hear you.
when
You
Uwe
got to live in the
scored
moment.
right,
Yeah.
right. I was just living in the moment, just hearing the fans chanting that team on the last 10, 15 minutes. You heard it. We all
Oh,
heard
it was
it.
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, and just trying to get that shield and see everybody out there. And I get it. It's social media. It's the world we live in. But I'm just sitting there going, I like just sitting there as maybe it's the coach in me, just watching the play develop, how everybody's spotting. And I remember turning to Jimmy King and saying, and I think Todd and Jose were there too, and we're just like, well, this is it. This is the last play of the game. And Blake
Right.
makes that save. You see
Yeah, where he grabbed it.
Andre
Yep.
going
Yep.
up and with
and
Matt
Matt
Freeze
Freeze
right
coming
there.
in and just
Yes. Yep.
That was wild.
that iconic scene there, which I don't think gets a lot talked about. You have the teacher and the student just colliding there, and you win the shield.
And
Um,
Freeze. I'm sure you know this. Freeze was on the 2020 Supporter Shield winning Union
yeah,
team.
Yep.
yep,
Yep.
yep.
And the game
So
ended, and I know you know this, but the game ended, and the coaching staff put all five guys who won from the Union who won the Shield on the current team. There's only five guys.
yeah,
Let's see if I can get it again. Bedoya, Lesnes,
Hmm.
Bizo, who else?
Wagner.
Wagner, and
Oh my gosh,
Bedoya, Glesnes, Bizo, Wagner.
Sullivan wasn't on it.
No, not
Oh,
Harry. Now
oh
I have to
my
go
God.
through the whole. Now I have to go through the whole
There
thing.
were five, and somebody's
Yes,
probably listening, going, "Kyle, you're missing somebody. Who was it?" And
yes, not. Well, I can go through not Ua, not anybody in there, not India, obviously, not Milan, obviously, not Quinn. Going through the not Danley, not Jovan.
Choo Choo wasn't there yet, right?
Did I
no,
say
No.
Blake and Blake?
We said
Blake,
Blake.
yeah,
Well, duh. Yeah,
yeah.
I thought we said, yeah,
That's what
there we
everybody's
Oh,
go.
like, Blake. Oh
Duh.
gosh, yeah. But no,
listen, that's when you know you've been covering the team long enough. You can't remember the five guys. You have so many nuggets in my head, but of
yeah,
course,
Yeah.
no. Um, one question I do want to ask you.
yeah,
So we've talked in previous episodes, kind of talking about your background in media.
sure,
Media now, when you look at where it is starting off, and I'm talking just about
yeah.
writing, I'm talking about social media, I'm talking about calls, broadcasting. How has it changed in your perspective from, again, where it started to where it is now? Because you hear a lot of these stories, and I'm not going to bring up the whole Chris Armas thing, but you see
Yeah,
a lot of these interactions, and they were there in the past. We have the Bobby Knight stuff. Obviously, being Indiana grad, you know that all too
sure.
well.
Yep.
But how has media evolved from when you started to where you are now?
Well, when I got in, even in my, I still consider myself a young person in the business, like, newspapers, when I was at Indiana, who was kind of going through a tough time with their student paper, but, um, newspapers were still very big and prevalent in the space.
Hmm.
Now, I think they still are in certain aspects, depending on who you ask. I'm a newspaper fan. I'm old school as a young guy. I still like holding a book,
Me
holding
too.
a newspaper, and reading. So shout out to all the scribes out there. I like that. And I would say now you have more, and it's not just people like I read online. It's not just like blogs are coming just to MLS. I mean, you see them in all sports, and I'm
Oh
talking
yeah.
NFL, NBA, and some of those people do just as much, if not more, than the beat people, because the beat
Hmm.
people might have different responsibilities, might have to cover different things. And you see these terrific writers, podcasters, multimedia journalists, I'll call them. And I also call it convergence media, where you combine all those things that we're talking about: writing, reporting, photography, editing, everything encapsulated in media. I think that's important. And I think that, in my opinion, as a journalism major, um, it's it's incumbent upon all these staffs at these professional teams, and I'm not just talking MLS.
Right.
They take into account, hey, how well do these young men, young women, older people do? Do they cover the team? Do they give us the time of day? And that might be able to reach on social media more than a newspaper writer or a magazine writer, or a radio host or a TV reporter. Um, so that definitely has changed, where you're having more folks doing it. I think, whether it's as a second job on the side, different from when I first came in, where it was like only traditional media were allowed in. That's
Hmm.
changed. Number one. Number two, I'd say, especially in MLS, even when I travel, I look for it. I don't see as much TV folks coming out, doing stand-ups, reportings, doing recaps of the games. I think it depends what market you're in, but you're not going to see that in any of the big markets. And I think that's a shame and that's a miss. I do have a TV background. I worked for a PBS affiliate, albeit not like an NBC, CBS, Fox. Um, but I can tell you that, this is just on them, not to go into a whole soliloquy, but, the sports blocks are diminishing, and you're not getting those long, features that you would see about, like, that you guys write about, like a Union player's background
Mhm.
outside of soccer. You're not seeing that on local TV. Our local radio market, this is across the country, is not spending any time talking about MLS.
Mhm.
And, the Union are the number one seed going to, hopefully we can go to MLS Cup and have the right to host our league championship.
Mm.
It's tough for us in this market. I'll just call it what it is, to get
Mhm.
on the local airwaves, and that's radio and TV. And I have a lot of friends and colleagues on those sides, and I'm not sharing any secrets to anybody. I think that's a shame.
Mhm.
They'll tell you that it might not get ratings, it's might not what they want, but if you don't try, then you'll never know. And I think, as somebody that does a lot of these different things, play by play, hosting, radio, TV, I can tell you that all it takes is just some preparation to get to know. If you don't know who the Union are, ask. Read your stories, talk to people like myself, talk to others that you sit with in the press box to help prepare a story. Use the Union PR staff. And I'm not just talking about Union. You asked me what's changed. A lot has changed. And I feel like that that part, for your local TV, your local radio. Before, I thought, when I first got in, maybe that what we used to see a bunch of cameras, down there in Chester, and that's changed since even in my 10 seasons, and the team has only gotten better. So it's kind of like an inverse relationship,
Right.
which should not be. Um, but having said that, the work that you guys do, the work that your friends do, that you sit with in the box, and the traditional media, I think, is to be really applauded. And I hope that a lot of people out there, not just in this market, but around the country, can catch your story to learn more about the union, because they would be wise to do so.
I mean, I we just listened to Jose on ESPN radio down there in Houston with Glenn Davis.
Yeah, yeah,
Phenomenal
sure.
interview. Um, you know, he- I mean, I'm just talking to our friends Todd and Jose.
Yeah,
I mean, they're two people. They go spread the word of the MLS. We obviously were on Fox 29 spreading the word of the Union.
yeah, terrific. You guys
I
did a
mean,
great job with that, by the way.
Thank you.
thank you.
Appreciate that.
But I mean, even Jonathan Tannenbaum. I mean, he would be the
Absolutely.
first to share that, and there are others too. Some of our other friends, like I said, I do agree with you on that. That I feel like there is a opportunity. Obviously, the union would be happy to share. with if ESPN showed up. I'm just giving you an example.
Sure, sure.
The stories. I feel that there's more a will to cover MLS and soccer in general. Um, they gotta want it. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a want there, and that's not there, obviously.
Yeah, and it's tough in the Philadelphia market because, like, are you going to hear like them talking about the union on WIP? Very rarely, you know. And if they do bring it up, they're almost like half joking, like, "Oh, soccer,
Uh,
you know,
Yeah, and I
whatever."
don't
It's
like,
like,
and I
yeah,
hate, that's like, so, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
yeah, it's fine. Yeah,
no,
I,
no, it's a lazy take.
yeah,
it's lazy to do that. And that's where it goes back. And you guys know this, how big you both are on the prep work.
Mhm.
It's when you think of me and my
You're
broadcast thing,
legendary. You're legendary.
and I appreciate that. I take a lot of pride in it, and you guys do the same. And when I hear these hosts go off about, oh, it's soccer, oh, it's the unit. Guess what? When the World Cup comes, whether people are ready for it or not, it's going to be the biggest story. And if they are not saying it's the biggest story, they're fooling themselves
yeah,
Yeah.
when 2026 comes around.
yeah.
And that's just a sporting and lifestyle story. I mean, that that brings together everybody. And even if you're just a casual watching over those 4+ weeks, um, man. So, Jillian, I didn't mean to cut you off there,
That's
but
fine.
I agree. When hosts chuckle, I'm like, my goodness, just do a little bit of research. It will take you 10 minutes where you can maybe have a coherent thought for 30 seconds.
Yeah,
And
and soccer's so huge around the world. Like it's like, okay, maybe you don't care about soccer, some of you people, but um the majority of the world, soccer is huge and the World Cup is going to be huge.
I just feel if we could connect with those, every, it feels like every bar, at least from my outside perspective, I'm not in Philadelphia, has a premier team, a Serie A team, a
Mhm.
Bundesliga team. If we can connect with those fans, like, oh, I just listen to them. I don't follow MLS. I hate MLS for this reason, that reason. If the union could just share the stories that we're trying to
Yeah.
share, or not even the union per se, because they do try. It's more if we can connect more as a media market, I think that's going to draw more people into MLS is what it is, but it will
right.
create a greater connection. Does that make sense?
Yes, I think that you also don't need to rely on what I said, that the question you posed to me on this topic. You don't have to rely on traditional media anymore because social media has changed the game.
Right.
Yeah.
No longer are people reading the 5,000 word stories anymore. And I love long feature stories, by the way.
Yeah.
But, some of them are coming out with, these recaps are only, sometimes they're in bullet points and that's it. Someone's just reading a tweet.
Mhm.
Someone's just looking at an Instagram story and that could be a cool design. Um, and, and that's, and there's something out there for everybody. That's the best part about the media today and how folks do things. And we in the industry, not and I'm not just talking sports, but I'm talking news.
Mhm.
All have to stay with the times and keep up with what it's changing so rapidly. And I think that all these teams, and I'm not really even talking about the union. I'm just talking in every sport. They have to give credibility to all these people that cover them the right way. And if you can see, if I'm a college basketball team and I see a college student going to class but pouring their heart and soul and trying to attend every press conference and every open practice and it comes with prepared questions. If I'm the sports information director at that college, I'm like, yeah, I have to let my coach know like this person's really trying. He or she might not have the reach of the Bloomington Herald Times in Bloomington, Indiana, but um, they're giving it their all, and I think that should be commended. So, um, everybody wants, the New York Times. I see it at the U.S. Open, the
Mhm.
Athletic, the New York Times, the others, but there's so many different media out there, and I think that's all a good thing. It's just to reach all walks. Um, And I think MLS, um, traveling with the team and meeting different people in the press box, and you guys travel to a host of cities. You meet all these kind folks too.
Hmm.
Everybody's got a different background, right?
Right.
Uh, some teams in MLS don't even have traditional papers, and they're all bloggers and just writing their own websites.
Hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with that. If those are the five folks that are covering the team, let's acknowledge that. I think that's
Hmm.
very important.
Yeah, and I think it's really, great how the union have been open to bringing, these different people that cover the team. Like you get all kinds of different
Right.
coverage from the team. So, for people like us getting a chance with it and some of our friends that do that as well, we don't write for a newspaper, for instance, but, we bring coverage the way that we do. And so, with doing our website and doing the podcast and everything. So, I think that that's been great. And yeah, there's so many different modes that people are getting their, content from. And
It's
yeah,
something that I learned at Westchester when a journalist professor told me times will change in the next 10 years, and they did.
Yeah.
yeah,
And that's what I always remember.
been
So
evolving. Yep.
let's now get into actually talking about the
Yeah.
Philadelphia Union. So,
Yeah.
Dylan, take it
Sure.
away.
Yeah. So, wow, here we are in October now, but it's like just thinking back though, just curious your thoughts on how the expectations have changed in your opinion from your perspective from January to now looking at this club, how they are now.
I mean, we were there in that press conference right in November. When was that? It was right after the MLS Next Pro Cup, literally that Monday,
Hmm.
when they were talking about that hot, they're moving on from Jim. So, yep.
Yeah, I'll never forget that because I was like in shock.
Yeah.
I like go on my lunch break and then I see the tweet. I'm
Yeah.
like, whoa.
But
Yeah.
let's talk about that.
Yeah. Just how's your perspective changed from the beginning of the
Yeah.
season?
Um, you know, last year, I hate to harp on last year, but last year I really felt was an anomaly.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Everything in 2024 that could go wrong kind of did. There was one point in the middle of the year I thought, maybe they can bounce out of this. But then, like, we're up 3-1 in Chicago and lose 4-3. We're up two men against Miami. Leo Fonso, former Union Academy guy, scores. We relinquished so many leads late in games, gave up goals early in games. Defensively, we weren't stout as we were. Blake only played 13 league games. Rick and Zemla were thrust into a situation they didn't see coming. Um, it just like everything was just unraveling in the wrong way. And I felt so bad because the group I felt was so much better than the results showed. And the results kind of tell the story and they are what they are. That's what somebody objective. And I tend to look at things very objectively. And I think then what happened is, the organization makes the decision with Jim. And I think that shocked a lot of people.
Hmm.
Right.
It really did. And, they, they wanted to go in a different direction. And, I can't, I can't sit here tonight and say, the job that Jim Curtin did, he did an amazing job with this Union team.
Hmm.
And folks should applaud him as well for what's going on this year. And I say that because some people say, well, it's Bradley's team, and it absolutely is Bradley's team,
Right.
Ernst's team, and it's all of our team, right? But a lot of those players came from Jim Curtin in the juniors in the academy, coming up to the second team and training with the first team or first team players. And so you do have to tip your cap to him and what he built. That's number one, I want to say. Number two, when they made the hire with Bradley, I mean, Bradley had a great pedigree with the Red Bulls winning Supporters Shield in 2018. We all know about 2023 with St. Louis first as an expansion team.
Hmm.
And, things, shook out the way they did in 24, which, they know more to that story than I will ever know. And I think as Union fans, we have to be so happy that they got a guy that earned the trust of all these veterans, like the Bedoyas, like the Wagners, like
Hmm.
the Glesnes. I know they moved on from Elliott. We lost, McGlynn, Gazdag traded away to Columbus in April. Who would have thought would have happened? Were things going to unravel? in the wrong direction there. And I for one miss personally Jack and Danny, and both Jacks, by the way. I was saying Jack, and Danny. Um, and I got to give credit to those veterans. You know, when that team went to Spain, and I heard some results were mixed, but obviously you have a new coach, new system, new philosophies, right? And you got to give credit to the players buying in, but also to Bradley um, putting his MO and with his staff and what Sean Rooney has done coming with him and what Mitch Hildebrand and also uh, assistant coach Frank, who does a great job with the set pieces, and Phil Wetton, all have done a phenomenal job.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's Bradley really did such a good job of getting the buy-in from the players and just really getting all of them on board. I mean, there was a great foundation, honestly. Like these guys have a great background having come up from gym, but like, I think Bradley just got that buy-in right from the beginning and has done an amazing job with them. They really, really seem to respect him so much. And um, he's been tremendous with them. And, I've been at training so much. I see how he is with them, and at the matches and everything. So, um, just
He's a wonderful
oh yeah.
man,
Oh yeah.
and these coaches, Sean and
Hmm.
Mitch, they've all assimilated so well to the Union family.
Yeah.
Um, Data driven, X's and O's, break down the game so well. I get to see a little bit of the behind the scenes in my conversations with them, and I want people to know these guys care with putting out a winning product just as much as all of you that have suffered the ups and downs of the Union. Some of you probably listening since day one, and this staff and Ernst
Hmm.
needs to be commended, and ownership as well. And someone may out there may say, "Oh, here's Dave, the broadcaster, just talking about the Union." But as someone who is a little bit on the inside, I can tell you that um, this staff had something, and they always got these players believing there's more, even though they were the top dogs for a lot of the season. Bradley would use the phrase being the hunters, not the hunted, a lot,
Hmm.
and and that stuck out with me. And always trying to get better, even when things were. Remember, we were on that 13 match unbeaten streak across all competitions.
Right.
Hmm.
Um, get to a semifinal for the Open Cup. Um, a lot of pundits nationally, I've said this on air, picked us to be last, missed the
Hmm.
playoffs. We brought back a lot of the same roster. I mentioned some of the change that, losing Elliott to Chicago, McGlynn to Houston, Gazdag to Columbus. But you bring in, you get an Indy Vassilev in a trade from St. Louis. Another year with Rick when Blake was gone, and how well Rick's done 14 shutouts between the two. We have the lowest goals allowed in the league at 35. Win the Shield by 1 point over Cincy, Miami in the end. We only lose one home game on March 16th to Nashville. We never lost more than two consecutive games all
Right.
year. That is very telling. You win a record 8 road games this year. Yeah, were there points dropped at home against Columbus and Miami, and Toronto towards the death of games? Absolutely. Oh, who's this in the background?
Oh, that's Oscar.
That's
Hey,
our.
Oscar. That's not Oscar Pereja, is it? Okay.
No, no,
Uh,
nope.
that's maybe his cousin. Hey, Oscar. Beautiful. So uh, there are so many numbers, the transition, the high pressing, but also the wrinkles in the press, whether it's at the top of the circle, whether it's going to the flanks, whether it's challenging the center backs or letting them pass east to west. There's so many different things. Um, the emergence of Watu Makanya. How about Jacob Klesnes and all the injuries that he's come back as well? Nate Harriel playing all 4 spots on the back. Kai Wagner's dominance. I mean, I can go literally every position. The role that Ali Bedoya has taken this year, as well. Um, getting a Bruno Damiani, Jovan Lukic, the story of the Sixes, Danley and Lukic, another season and a full season of Danley. And how about the find of Jovan Lukic as
Hmm.
well?
Yeah.
Masterful by Ernst, by Matt, that technical staff, Chris as well in the scouting department, everybody. And I think the depth really helped us this year. So when going back to your question, because I go on these long rants. When we won game one on February 22nd, I recollect 4-2 at Orlando, people
Hmm.
went, whoa, whoa,
Hmm.
right? Nobody really expected that.
Right?
And then, we kind of go on this little bit of a surge, right? We win our first three games. We beat Cincy at home 4-1. We win at New England 2-0 under, a new coach in Caleb Porter. Then we fall to Nashville. You remember that the next game we play a St. Louis team that, is against Bradley's former club. Most of those guys, our guys, were gone due to international duty.
Right.
We
Right.
win that game 1-0. I mean, I can recollect a lot of this year with you here. Um, and it takes the full roster and the buy-in also of the guys that maybe aren't getting the minutes that maybe they think they should. And that to me is coaching, film work, the work and training that we see these guys do. They have fun. They're all competitive. Oftentimes, I hear from the coaches about, hey, it's a Wednesday. They're going hard. We have to back them off a little bit because the competitive juices are already flowing between the two, and they're barking at each other. And maybe it's friendly competition, but that's what you want. They're striving to be a couple percentage points better. And that's the story of the Union. And I'm not saying we didn't have that in 24, but the results were totally different in 25. And I am so excited to see um, how this team does in the playoffs because I can tell you, last thing I'll say on this is that in 2020, I don't want to harp on it, but, we had that bye and we lose to New England. I still remember it haunts me, Brandon Bye and Juwan Jones beating us 2-0 at our place. And that was it for our run. And I'm hoping that's not the case here. Now we're in a best of three situation in the first round. But I just get the belief now everything's coming through our house. We would only have to go on the road game two of the
Right.
first round. That's it. And I think the way that the bracket is shaken out, um, and I'm saying this objectively, by the way, I've thought about it a lot and not just, after we won the Shield. I think something special. I think there's a run in store here. I really believe in this group that they won it. And I think a lot of people around the league, we don't have that 5, 10, $15 million player. Ernst will tell you we're not made of three, four, five superstars, but all these guys in there, they believe in each other. They all believe they're collectively. They can be the star that can reign supreme over maybe just one $10 million player on the other side of the field. And I'm hoping for our union that comes to fruition over the next couple weeks.
Yeah, and that's something I love about this team that the team is the star. It's not just, you know, it's not like Messi and friends, or it's not like, Bouanga and Son. It's not, Thomas Mueller. It's like, no, like there's so many guys, and especially when you look at there's like 18 different goal scorers this season for them. But like
Amazing. It's a
they
great,
all
great stat.
it's
It
crazy.
is.
And the second team's been the same way, by the way. Like they've all contributed. And so you look at this team and so many different players have had such a big role. And if they've had someone, say get injured or just having off, like they pick each other up. Like it's not like you lose that star player or something and just the drop off. No, this whole team has been collectively really strong and they've been super fun to watch. And the thing is, yet they've put together this great season and win the supporter shield, and yet of course there's still all the doubters and oh, well, Miami this and this and that. And it reminds me of back in the 2017 season, the Eagles. The Eagles,
Yeah.
no one, they were the underdogs, even though of course we know what they went on to do that season, but like, okay, they're finishing top, but oh, everyone's doubting them. And you know,
Hungry
um,
dogs run faster. Is that what
yeah,
Yeah.
all
Yep.
those
yeah,
guys
and
would say?
yeah, and
You
I
know,
have to say, like, I know
I don't have my
Kevin.
dog mask here.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. I know Kevin Kincaid put something out on Crossing Broad about, they need Lane Johnson's dog mask now, because, underdogs, but I think they thrive on that too, and Philly loves that too, It makes me, as someone who follows all the Philly sports, I'm always like, I'm almost kind of uncomfortable, like, if everyone's like, oh yeah, Philadelphia team is the best one, and oh, they're the team to beat. And it's like I kind of like being more in the underdog, role.
No, I I harp on what you both are saying there. The thing that Dave, you bring up about the train, just going down the train, you're right.
Hmm.
Talking with the players post train, Bradley comes in. Todd Lewis had interviewed Indiana Vasiliev early in the season, and he said, to your point, the culture was always there,
Hmm.
but Bradley expanded and
Yes.
Brought his
built
talents to that,
brought
really
brought
built that.
into
Hmm.
that, and I think that was one thing. Another thing you brought up about we talk about it seems like all year the Toronto match, the Columbus and Miami match.
Yeah.
If you remember last year, I think it was you, me, was it Todd was there, and it was you and Danny Higginbottom. We were all sitting at that table and we're talking about the drop points. And I always remember this conversation because I pulled out, what was it, 22 drop
Yeah. I
points.
think this might have been in Columbus. Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
in
Yeah.
it was
Columbus. I
Columbus.
remember sitting there. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so Todd and I have been tracking points gained, points dropped, right?
Sure.
Union's only dropped 8 points this year.
Wow. And
That
it was what, like 22,
it was
something like
22,
that last
23,
year?
something like that. It was something ridiculous because remember they dropped points against Cincinnati. So I mean, right now, based on the calculations we kind of put together, it's 8 points I think they've dropped this year. I
Wow.
mean, and it's not the lowest, but it's up there with teams like San Diego, like Inter Miami.
Hmm.
So always go back to, and we can talk about this in a little bit, but
Sure.
I just go back to like you said, the defense, the McConyers, the Frankies, the
Yeah.
Glesnes having revival. You, Danley Jean-Jacques and Jovan Lukic, I
Oh,
don't know if either of them are going to be team of the year, but they should be. They're probably the best
that's such a good
defensive
pairing.
mid pairing team in the league. When they're
Well,
on, you
yeah,
they
those, go ahead.
go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Those, it gets me excited. Speaking of our two sixes and different from a four, you go from a 4-4-2 diamond. We talk about the change in formation
Yeah,
to a 4-3-2, and those two sixes, they could be defensive midfielder positions, but those guys, how they aid the attack. And depending,
oh,
it's always different, right, on how they scout their opponent and where they want the sixes to align, what line they want them to be on, how they build up with them with the ball against the ball. But you see a lot, Danley and
Hmm.
Lukic can rip a shot from 25, 30 yards as good as anybody. Um,
sometimes I like
and
them
I
to
think,
pass the ball in, like we saw in
yeah,
Charlotte. But to your
sure, there were a
point, they're
couple
not afraid
shots.
to do that. Sorry,
And
sorry to cut you off.
no, no, yeah, Danley had a couple shots from the outside that went high into the crowd in Charlotte. I know, and but I like them to be aggressive,
Me too.
and I like them to get forward. I like when they're connected, and I think both play with that Philly spirit. And I know some may be saying, "Oh, I loved Jose Martinez and that Philly fight, that grit, that personality, that spunk that he had." Um, some may be saying he was always a yellow card waiting to happen. That's just the type of player you get with a Jose. But the way that Danley has continued his play from his first taste last year to MLS to this year, um, coming from France, and to find Jovan Lukic, and what a delightful young man and personality he
Oh my
is.
gosh, yes.
Uh, nice guy. These guys are they all like each other. These guys that I see behind the scenes travel with the team, and um, I just feel like the two sixes just can aid in that transition game. And whether you build with a six, if Dan leaves to the right of maybe Iglesias and Macania building, or one's back on a set piece, or one's aiding forward with the tens when you're with the ball and playing a high line and getting everybody past that center line, the halfway line. They can do so many different things. Put out some fires against opposing number tens or wingers cutting in the inside. Uh, they're versatile. Is what I'm getting at,
Hmm.
and I think it's a big story. I'm not even throwing a Jesus Bueno coming in.
All right.
Bueno could start for other teams in MLS, and it's probably a tough situation for Choo Choo, his
No, for
nickname for those
sure.
that don't know. Because I'm sure the kid wants to play.
Hmm.
But when you have the quality of a Danley and a Lukic, it's hard to take them out. But Jesus has played. Others have stepped up. For as many times as we gave up some leads this year. Um, speaking of the Torontos, the Columbus, the Miami game at home, we've gotten late goals on the road. Kai Wagner, a screamer in Toronto, Marcus Anderson, 98th minute
Hmm.
goal
Hmm.
against Charlotte, and others. So we've
Hmm.
also people will say, "Oh, the Union have allowed late goals," but they also have scored late goals too.
Very many.
So there's give and take a lot.
Right.
Um, yeah, there were lapses where we were giving up goals. Um, in first half stoppage time or at the death of games
Hmm.
or
Hmm.
Hmm.
towards the death. And that's something that absolutely we need to buckle in when we get into these playoff games, that we need to be really disciplined defensively in the last moments of each half. And, if you remember, it's kind of a crapshoot because in the first round, we go right to penalties. There's no extra time, but you
Right.
only get to extra time, the two halves of extra time, when you go into the conference semifinals and conference final,
Yep.
because they're one game. It's a
Yeah.
one game decider. So just remember that as you're watching the first playoff game, or hopefully listening to our radio call. Just consider, like, yeah, we in penalties, anything can happen,
Hmm.
Hmm.
as you guys know. As
Hmm.
much as I'd love to call those moments as a play-by-play guy, I would love to see you win convincingly.
Yes.
And I believe for the Union now, it's one game at a time, but you got to get through this first round. I think if you get through the first round, regardless of who we play at the time of this recording, whether it's Orlando or Chicago, you just got to get through those games, whether it's through two or through three. And I think that, and then you got, New York City and Charlotte without Zaha, and that a little bit of a brain freeze. Well, a lot of a brain freeze. I couldn't believe it. I was saying on there, I just can't believe what he just did after
Right.
getting that
Hmm.
second. But that's their loss. It's a shame. He's a great player. Just lost his composure in the moment, and then you see the other side of the bracket. The Miamis, the Nashvilles, the Cincy's. Let them go at each other, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
so on our side, it's shaken out. I know the West, Vancouver's had a great year, LAFC, Minnesota with Dane St. Clair, with St. Clair. He's probably goalkeeper of the year.
Yep.
Um, anything can happen. The last thing I'll say is, look, the Red Bulls came as a 7 seed and went to the final last year.
Hmm.
They lost to LA Galaxy. What happened to LA Galaxy this year? Turmoil, right?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Um, so anything can happen. I think kind of seeds are thrown out the window,
Hmm.
and you just got to look at the matchup, look at the scout, and then you got to play the game. And it's the playoffs, um, across all sports, as we all know, anything can happen. Anything.
Hmm.
I'm hoping the Union are on the right side of it, though.
For
Yeah.
sure. And we'll talk about a little bit more of that in a second.
Yeah.
One thing I do want to get your takeaway. We talked about on the show yesterday, but just a little bit, what's your assessment? How much you read into result in Charlotte? Because obviously, Kalina had a great game, 5 saves.
Sure.
Um, Bradley talked about those goals that were scored for Charlotte, and yeah, there was some defensive laps, but was that one ball out of bounds? Who knows?
Right.
I mean, what was your overall assessment? Because I thought in the second half, that was probably one of the best defensive and offensive performances I've seen on the road in the second half.
Hmm.
It was just unlucky.
Yeah, we kept going at them in the second half, and I credit the club with the resurgence coming out of halftime, and really a
Hmm.
meaningless game.
Yeah.
We were down 2-0, and Baribo came on, did really really well coming in, had some chances, and you're right to start off this topic with Kalina was terrific.
Yeah.
Uh, I think we did make some nice runs in that they just stopped us.
Yeah.
I think it bounce it could be a totally different game. The Melanda curler up in the air, everybody thought that ball was out. There might have been some folks even on the Charlotte sideline from their team that I heard that might have thought it was out as well.
Hmm.
It wasn't called. tough for us to see from our vantage point. We were all the way down the other end of the booth, but Milanda played that long ball over the top, which I kind of had on the scout that he plays these long direct services over the top or diagonal hits. It's credit to the player loaned back from Middlesbrough, going back to England after the end of their playoff run with Charlotte. Good player.
Yeah.
And then the other goal, Zaha and Toffolo come in. Toffolo was coming off of injury, formerly played in England, plays that cross. The Vargas, were caught sleeping on the back post. They score. A lot of that's preventable. I've seen that in other games. That the Columbus game comes to mind as well, where a cross comes in on one side and the player scores on the other. Those are things that we have to limit moving forward. Bedoya had a chance in the first minute of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Damiani had an opportunity. I recollect kind of in and around the 27th minute with Bedoya as well. Ua also. Some hits from Daly that went high, but how much do I read into the result? Look, the guys wanted to get the game.
Yeah.
You saw by the lineup,
Hmm.
and excuse me, I just feel like it's all right. It's not that big of a deal. We never won down there. You're still in first. You won the Shield. Um, you had a reputable performance. You didn't win. So you put that in the wastebasket. You move on to the playoffs and you say to yourselves, maybe we'll see Charlotte again. Um, Blake made a nice midair save to deny Toklamati. I believe twice he stopped
Hmm.
him, which was great. Um, do you always want, to score down there? And, maybe things would have been different if that first ball is ruled out of bounds. That leads to the goal for Zaha. But I don't, even taking off my Union broadcast hat here, if I was looking at another team, I just don't put that much stock into them falling there. It's not our momentum. Are we still have momentum? We still won the
Hmm.
Shield. Vibes are still good. Yeah, were they pissed they didn't win the game? Absolutely, and they should
Right.
be.
Hmm.
That's a sign of a good competitive team.
Right.
But um, they did their job against New York City. They went on the road. They put out the performance there against Charlotte. Credit them for winning the game. They needed that game for home field advantage, and they got it. And what you do is you tip your cap and say, Charlotte, congrats on getting the 4 seed. You play New York City. You don't have to go twice to Yankee Stadium. But now we're going to go back to take care of business at our place. And maybe we'll see you in the conference semifinals. And that's really it. Um, I don't, the team did a couple things differently in the matchup. Um, maybe dropping a little bit deeper than they normally do, and trying out some different things. And that's good for the coaching staff to get those pictures to see if that's something they want to do moving forward in the playoffs, depending on the scout as well. Um, Bedoya started the game at right. Indy had a little bit of a groin, but injury, but he came in into the game as a sub. It speaks to him. And the guys, the mindset going in, they still wanted that game. And for me, um, as a union broadcaster, and even for our fans, you got to applaud a team like that. But again, that's over. It's game 34, and now you're on to another. Some may say the most important part. I'll say another important part, and that's trying to get MLS Cup.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
No.
And don't we feel so much better the fact that if it does come to the MLS Cup, it's in Chester?
Yep.
It's in I mean, look,
How many times have we looked back at 2022 and be like, man, if things had been different and had been in Chester at Cedars Park, you know?
that's right. That's right. I'm man. If it's LAFC again,
Could you imagine?
Vancouver, avenging that defeat there.
There's
Yeah,
some really good storylines. Let's put it that way. Those two matches would be some really good, interesting
but it could be
storylines.
somebody, and like I said before, like Red Bulls, it could be somebody else. It could be Portland coming from a wild card when they play
Yeah, you just
RSL.
never know.
It
Yeah.
could
It could be
be
the way
San
Minnesota's done
Diego.
this.
It could be San
San
Diego.
Diego, as credit to Mikey Farris and the group there.
Hmm.
Um, Amazing stories.
It
Sure.
did for sure.
The Union, we're hoping. I'm hoping that it's the Union. It could be somebody. somebody different that nobody's thinking about. A lot of people are thinking Miami, Miami, Miami. Could it be a Union Miami um, Eastern Conference final? I mean, I remember that game where we played, in League's Cup in the semifinals, and how big of a game that's. Could you imagine the
The
spectacle
circus.
that would be? Yeah, and that too. But don't want to go too far ahead because
Yeah.
other teams are deserving to get in the playoffs. Anything can happen. Um, I just say, win your first game with the Union, continue to make it a fortress, and regardless of who you play, just get the job done in game one and go from there.
Yeah, and I
So,
think this team has it in them, So, man, you know,
And the crowd's going to be there, and I'm really excited
oh, nothing like
because
playoff soccer there.
playoff soccer, the environment in Chester. You mentioned how what the environment was like for that supporter shield clincher against New York City. Everybody standing in the last 10 minutes of that. It was awesome, and then celebrating. And that gave me the chills back to the 21-22 runs that we had.
Mm-hmm.
Even to see the stadium in parts of 23, how electric it was. And we're going to get that again. It's what? It's our first playoff game at home since 23.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't there last year.
right.
So we
Mm-hmm.
lost on decision day last year, not making the playoffs.
Yep.
Yep.
So I'm so happy that we're back in it. We could be at home for a while, which I do think, especially in this sport, I do think the home crowd helps. I
Oh,
really, really do. And some listening may say that's an easy thing to say. Of course, maybe in all sports that helps, but I think in soccer it's a little bit different. I think it's a little different just in my time traveling around a little bit and what that atmosphere is going to be. And I'll say this: any fans that want to hop on the bandwagon, let's not be naive. For those that are going to follow us now, that maybe don't give us a lick during the year, I'd say, come on in. Here's what happened. Bring them up to speed. Let's all be one happy family, and let's rev up this team to a trophy, another trophy.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Hit the nail on the head there, Dave.
Yeah. So, watching Chicago and Orlando tomorrow, what are you looking for from both squads and trying to gauge ahead of Sunday's match?
That's going to be a great matchup.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago's playing really, really well,
Hmm.
right? I believe they're unbeaten the last 5 games. And then you have a Orlando team that only has one win in their last 9. Chicago's coming with
Mm-hmm.
better form. They're in 8th. Orlando flipped spots with Nashville, where Nashville pendulumed up to 7. Orlando fell from 7th into 9th to be on the road. Orlando is now in their 6th straight playoffs. They lost to
Yes.
the Red Bulls in the conference semifinals, the conference final last year, right? And then Red Bull lost to Galaxy, the conference
Mm-hmm.
final.
Right.
Orlando has that experience playing in those penalties. They went the distance against Charlotte last year. Chicago's in their first playoffs since 2017.
Correct.
Now, somebody say, is it the playoff? It's the wild card. I'm just going to call it playoffs for the sake of the conversation
Yeah.
Hmm.
because it's a wild card. It's an 8-9 game. Um, so they're playing beyond a decision day. Um, what I look for the matchup is my questions are for Orlando is defensively. What answers do you have for the guys like Hugo Kuipers, like Philip Zinkernakel, like Brian Gutierrez, Jonathan Bamba? I think that attack is so good. There might be some questions on the defensive side for Chicago, might be a little bit exposed out of the back. That's the question I have for Orlando is what answers do you have defensively to limit the playmaking ability of those guys that I just mentioned? Um, if I'm Chicago, I'm saying, how do I stop an Ojeda, a Luis Muriel, some of these other players? Enrique's no longer there. Um, how do I score against a terrific goalkeeper in Pedro Gallese as well? Um, I think it's the games in Chicago. A lot of people ask me, who would you rather play? Do you want to play the team that knocked off Miami 5-3 in Chicago? You want to play the team that's not in great form that lost on decision day 4-2 at Toronto, that's dropped back to back games in Orlando? Um, the Union sweep Chicago this year win 4-0 at home, 1-0 Bruno Damiani, 10th minute goal. Um, Early on, middle part of the year, remember that on a penalty.
Mhm.
Orlando, we beat game one, February 22nd. We draw 0-0 in April, early April. So um, I still objectively give the Union the advantage in either scenario. Um, and I think it's going to be a very entertaining game.
I do as well for
Yeah.
a lot of
How do you
reasons.
guys see it?
I agree with you. I think both of those offenses that you just mentioned, especially when Orlando is on, they can be one of the most dangerous teams in the league,
Mhm.
especially if
Yeah,
Gillespie defensively it has
absolutely.
they can be. I remember Jose, I think it was Jose, Todd, and you and I were talking about like they were on that little streak there right towards the end of summer. They were on a roll, and they looked like the team that could win MLS Cup potentially. And then
Right.
they kind of cooled
Mhm.
off. And then you bring up Chicago. Defensively, yeah, they're a little suspect, but their road record, one of the best in the league this
You're
year.
right. Road,
Uh,
they've done way better
Very
on the road than home. That's a
so
great point.
that is a very good point. And
However, at Subaru Park,
yes, but
Union
again,
did pretty
when you
well.
look at
Yeah.
their when you look at their scope of results, they've been excellent.
Mhm.
Now, you can say they drew 2-2 on decision day in New England with a team that wanted to go
Right.
on the golf course. Defensively, they struggle. But offensively, like to your point, they have so many weapons.
Sure.
It's going to be really fascinating, but to your point, I kind of I think both games, even in a best three series, I think the Union can handle them. Just again because they've proven that they can shut down the offense, and maybe it's a
Right.
football outage. What wins championships? Good defense, timely defense.
And their defense has been
One of the
fantastic.
best in the league this year.
Yeah.
So. I'm really curious to see which version of Orlando shows up because it kind of reminds me of that Nashville team we saw in
Yeah.
2021. Remember, they got that result against Orlando and they looked like a world beater coming in Subaru Park. 1-1 draw, went to PKs. And
Oh man, was that those PKs look so
so it's
memorable.
going to be interesting. I'm really curious as well. I'm going to be watching a lot defensively how both of these teams are holding up
In,
as
in
well.
Chicago, to your point, like what gives up like 60 goals? That's you're going
Yeah,
towards like, the teams like San Jose and others that towards the bottom for most goals relinquished this year. Don't forget,
right.
like Orlando's got some speed on the outside, guys like Freeman, who's done
Oh,
really well. Maybe we'll be in that World Cup roster next year with the U.S. Alex Freeman on the right. You got Spicer, I believe he came from Toronto, kind of plays left back, but
yep,
really no a wing back. Don't forget Duncan McGuire as well, battled a lot
Hmm.
of injury. Back playing for them. Araujo's played really well. Thorholtson for Orlando.
yep.
Um, yeah, Chicago defense, Kyle, to your point, they got to be ready.
They
Uh,
do.
I mean, Elliott's played really well for them, and the back Goodman's
Hmm.
played well. Um, could like you said, objectively, they're suspect out of the back. Brady's got to be ready in
Hmm.
goal. Just the international pedigree, I think you got to point to Gillespie and just everything that he's done in his career, both for club and country. Um,
Correct.
I really think that's going to be an entertaining game. Stylistically, the Union may say, just based on the results this year and what happened, you rather play Chicago. You can take all their goal scoring, but you can beat them for what they give defensively. Um, I think both will be tough round one opponents. I'm
Hmm.
not taking, and the Union will not take them lightly.
No.
But I think it's going to be a heck of a series, regardless of who we get. I
Yeah.
root for as a also a fan of the sport. I hope it's an entertaining wild card game. If it
Hmm.
goes to PKs, if it's back and forth scoring, I think both teams, given that it's an 8-9 wild card, like the other one, Portland RSL, you're going to go after it hard. It's a chance to play the supporter show winners and try to upset them, right? Uh,
Mhm.
so who do you think wins the game? Both of you.
Mm.
I personally think my gut.
Yeah,
My brain says Chicago, but my gut says I just I just think Chicago's got a little bit more something right now in terms of momentum. I really
playing
feel like
great.
I think
Would say
Chicago.
Chicago
Yeah,
too.
Berhalter's,
He's figuring them out.
transformation, right? I believe he's gone from four to now playing. You can call it three or five in the back.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm.
I mean, they've, I mean, they got some good players. Like, don't forget, like Marin Haile Selassie's still on that
Yep.
team. Gutierrez could rip an outside shot as good as any. I remember that hit he had in Miami. Wow, was that? And I kind of like I was screaming with Hudson on the TV. I was like, "Yes, you didn't have a chance to play for the Shield at home."
Oh,
Yeah,
we were the biggest Chicago fans that night, weren't we?
yeah, because remember went back, weren't they up like 3-1 and then it got to like 3-3 and then
Yes,
Chicago
yes.
wins 5-3 down there. Um, Zinkernakel's quality. I mentioned, I believe Kuipers has 17 goals this year. So, it's um, Chicago's the home team, right?
Hmm.
We all rightly said they were better on the road this year. I remember kind of the storyline when we were there is like in the press box at Soldier Field, they couldn't win at home, or they barely were winning at home. They were much
Yeah.
better on the road. And look, Berhalter's first year with the Chicago team, our friend Jack Gillett wearing the captain's armband. It takes a long time to get acclimated. Look, Caleb Porter, even though he's no longer there in New England, it took a lot
Hmm.
to change that tenor. That tune wasn't so good in the beginning part of the year. People wanted him gone, um, fair or not fair, from the outset of their season. So, okay, so you like Chicago, Jillian? What did you say?
I would say Chicago as well.
Two Chicago's.
Yeah. And you're on Chicago as well, right?
Yeah, my feeling is I'm going with the home team there, and I think um, whether it's a Kuiper, Zinkernakel, Bamba from the left with his speed, if he has a good end product in the game, look out. And I just I think my gut's telling me Chicago, but I think it's going to be a really good game.
I do
I
too.
would be shocked if it's like 3-0 Chicago. Whether it's a one goal game, high scoring game, back and forth, I think it's going to be a really good game.
Yeah. And then just looking at this playoffs, we talked, I remember right after that was it the Nashville game, we talked about this squad. They had the 6-0 win in DC. They've had that 4-0 win against Chicago, but they've also had, we're not going to talk about the Nashville and Vancouver as far as I'm concerned. It's whatever. But
Hmm.
they've had some games where they've struggled to score goals.
We've had
And
a lot where it was like 1-0
one
or,
nothing, which again, credit to the defense.
Mhm.
But
Sure.
playoffs, as much as we want to see good defense, you got to score goals. So, what's your biggest concern going into the playoffs for the squad?
It's a very good question. And I think what I said earlier, um, I'm okay, by the way, winning games 1-0.
Right.
I'm okay. We remember we lost the Nashville 1-0
Hmm.
uh, on a late penalty to Mukhtar. Um,
Hmm.
we lose Columbus 1-0. I think that we need to display, and I said this earlier on tonight, we need to stay disciplined at the end of each half
Yep.
defensively. I don't
Hmm.
want to see us fall asleep on restarts, any of those second phase of set pieces, because we're better than that. And I think the players would all echo that. I think the coaching staff would tell you that as well. So I don't want to see goals given up with this team on free kicks from the opposition, regardless of who we play. Second, third phase of set pieces. When one's coming outside the penalty area and then coming back in.
Right.
Our defense needs to be resolute until that ball is cleared out of harm's way. That to me, if we can stick with what got us here with the defense, getting the 14 clean sheets, 8 with Blake, 6 with Rick, that's number one. Because the defending is all about the collective. And what's great
Correct.
about this team is that it's the buy-in of all 10 outfield players, the organization of your goalkeeper Blake, but the buy-in from the guy from the strikers all the way down. And And that's wherever the press trigger is going to be, whether it's running at the center backs, like I said early on, whether it's that first pass to an outside back, or it's letting them play out of the back a little bit. And then when the ball gets to the midfield, then you go. Then you try to hit them quick in transition, regardless of how the Union draw it up. That's number one. As far as the goals will come. I think what we need to do is we need to have service to the strikers. What I want to see is those strikers involved early on in games, whether that's Ua, Damiani, Baribo, Chris Donovan later in games, whoever, whether it's your tens. I want to see service into the attacking third. And I think, excuse me, a lot of people like to see that early on in games. There might be that feeling out process that we see right in the first 5, 10, 15 minutes. But I want to see the strikers get involved early in um, in the first half. Um, Sometimes it might call for Wagner to get advanced on the left, but we can't be just a cross heavy Wagner team.
Mhm.
Sometimes it might be a Harry or Westfield getting up with the right. Um, and that to me is you have to provide that service in multiple ways if it's up the spine of your opponent or from the outside. And then the third, I would say, the last thing is with a high line of confrontation, meaning like a Glesnes and McCann, you're at the midway line. Don't get beat on a counterattack. Um, that to me is big. Our recovery sprints have looked good, but if we play a
Yes.
high line, we need to get back and
Yes.
play organize that back line. Um,
And Wagner does not need to be almost at the opposing 18 because that's what happened to that one goal in Charlotte. He got
Yeah.
out way up
As
tight.
good as Kai has been, that was, yeah.
And again, that's not a knock, but you know how Kai likes to drift up that left-hand side a little too
sure,
far, and
but
then
somebody's got to cover.
correct. I
You're
agree
a
with you
hundred. You're
100%.
yeah, somebody, and that's where these guys need to know. It's like a chessboard, right? When that
Correct.
pawn's going up, who has the right to go back a little bit more? Is it the queen, or when we don't need to go into the analogy? But somebody's got to cover. That's why often you'll see a number six maybe staying a little bit further back, like a Danley or Lukic when Kai gets
Correct.
forward and all that. And it's the partnerships on that side too, with a left back coming in and the interlapping, the overlapping of a 10. And we can go into the weeds tactically about it, but you're right. If an outside back goes, somebody has to cover back there. Um, I will say that the Union just we're at our best, man, when we go quick in transition, and that's what I want to see us do. When we quickly dispossess a team, how fast, how rapidly can we go to the opposing goal?
And Bradley
I would
said 10
say,
seconds. 10 seconds.
and that's great. And
Yeah.
Mhm.
and the one thing the last thing I'll say about tactically
Hmm.
is that, we've seen it with teams like Nashville and others where teams have said, okay, Union, we're going to give you the ball. We're going to sit with a mid to low block and you break us down. If that
Mhm.
occurs in the playoffs, regardless of if it's this round or next round, can we be crisp on the ball? Can we connect 3, 4, 5 passes like we see them do in training exercises, like we see them do in games? Sometimes it looks great. Sometimes they wish probably they did a better job. But if they're in a situation where a team is giving the Union possession, which they do not like to play, and it's no secret, you're at 48% of possession towards the bottom third of the league. The Union don't like to play with the ball. That's not a secret to anybody.
Mhm.
Um, you know, how well can they play in possession? Against the ball, we know how we do, but with the ball, how will we fare? And that's a big question to your point, to your question on this topic and a point about what we want to see from our Union. And I hope with the ball that we can look good in this first round playoff series.
Yeah.
No, to your point, about the goals, I do feel like the goals will come, but I agree. Like when you see Ua, when you see Baribo, when you see Damiani involved in the box, that's where we get. That's when these are the games where the Union get more than one goal a lot of times. But I think for me, um, that is still, you said the low block. We saw that a lot on Saturday with Charlotte.
Mm,
How can the Union break them down? How can the Union not rely on just shots outside the box? Can we get that ball into traffic? Can we find
Sure.
space in that low block? And then on the defensive side, you're right. I mean, one thing we've talked about a lot, and I really love this, is McConaughey loves, we saw this a lot with MLS Next Pro last year. McConaughey likes to be aggressive like Neil Pierre does and go forward.
Yeah.
hmm
But as you notice, as the seasons progress, when he goes forward, Danley likes to
Yeah.
drop
You
back,
daily drop back.
and,
Yep.
and he does a very nice job. That and Jovan does a nice job when Glessens likes to go forward. So
Yeah.
you're seeing a little bit more of that partnership. I would like to see somebody. Sometimes McConaughey and Kai go a little too far up. Ball goes over the top, like you said. Now
I have
Jacob
Now
facing.
you're at a
doesn't.
numerical advantage for the other
And
team.
Jacob
You
just doesn't
shoot on
have
a
the
counter.
speed to recover. And Jacob just doesn't have the speed to
hmm
It's
recover.
all about reading, right? And
Yep.
you both
Yes.
you said that a six has to cover, somebody's got to cover. When McConaughey is in possession 30 yards, which at times he looks really good doing it. He bullies his way forward. I like it.
Oh,
Or
I love it.
Yeah.
Glasses sometimes
Yeah.
get forward to the tip of the penalty area on the
Yep.
opposing. Um, I think that's fine as long as you said, as you both rightly said, as long as there's coverage to limit an imminent counterattack for the
Right.
other team to go down the
Yes.
field.
Yeah.
And when they have numbers and a good team, and you know the quality that's out there across the league, some of those players can punish you, regardless if you have an Andre Blake in goal or not.
Right.
Um, and I want the Union to be aggressive. I like when they play a high line.
Me
Yeah.
I
too.
like how they play like kind of it's like a no fear mentality, right? Yeah, we're going to draw you offside. You want to beat us over the top, you're going to be off. You want to make
Yep.
that run when Glasses and McConn are going up, flag's going up.
Yep.
Yep.
So yeah, you take the chance sometimes, sure. Um, but like you said, Kyle, you got to get service to these strikers. You all know
hmm
what the quality of who is, playing over the top, playing in a counter in space. Baribo and Damiani aren't those types of strikers, you know. They're lurkers in the box, one touch finishers. They do a beautiful job at it. And Damiani can hold up, can spin around you, box you out like you're Embiid and score. I love that.
hmm
I
Me
think he
too.
scored in two of the last four games. Ooh, was scoring in back-to-back games.
hmm
We need Baribo to get on that torrid pace that he had, where he was the Golden Boot leader, albeit early on in the year, and then
hmm
candidate early on, middle third of the season. Um, we need all those guys to click, and regardless of who starts and who doesn't, I don't think that should matter. It's we need all those guys involved. I need to be calling those names as a game caller early in
hmm
games. Um, and I especially because the first game's at home, I believe we're going to get the chances to do that.
I think we will as well. That's just my thought.
Yeah. Yeah. So, a bit of a fun question here.
I like
So
fun.
yeah.
And by the way, this is a fun. I always have a great time with them both.
Oh,
Great
same.
Same.
conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Still
So,
waiting on my night out in Lancaster to Annie Bailey's for best cheesesteak egg rolls. But
oh yes, yes. You got to come visit us in Lancaster, by the way. So,
absolutely.
yeah. So, did a lot of away matches ourselves this year, but like obviously you get to do some great trips yourself. Just on your travels this year, some with us, but what is your favorite new city or place it doesn't have to be new, but just where's your favorite place you visited this year with the team?
Um, I like the Toronto trip a lot. I like that Wagner scored late in that game. I didn't like I think I didn't know, but none of us liked the delay we had in the airport because that was a double trip. We went from Toronto. I don't know if you remember to FC Dallas, and there was that
That's
break.
right.
And
Uh-huh.
then we had I believe it was the scoreless draw at Dallas, which was
Yep.
disappointing, where we
When
were up
when the Union Rapper Man. Yeah.
Yeah.
for most of the game, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we had like close to 30 shots. Don't want to think about that one too much, but we had some different guys in there, whatever. But the Toronto trip it comes to mind when you ask me that because I went to the distillery district. You both know, and those that follow my social media, I like to get out and walk a lot,
Mm-hmm.
jog like the day of the game, and see different cities, and just kind of get out of prepping and in the hotel for a little bit, and just moving my legs. into fitness as well, so like to just get out there and explore. Um, so the Toronto trip comes to mind because I can walk near the water. You can go to the downtown area. You can see, the Rogers Center where the Blue Jays. Congrats to them. I think they won the pennant for the first time in 32 years in the
Yep.
AL
Mm-hmm.
or in the World Series, right? Um, so Toronto's going to be. So the six is always a great time. Our hotel's walking distance to the stadium. I'm always a guy that likes to stay more in the downtown. But that one comes to mind. I love the Nashville trips are always fun, and I like to, I actually went to the Capitol this year.
Mm-hmm.
And there's
I
a
hear
lot of,
that's really nice.
it's beautiful, and there's a lot of Philadelphia references
Hmm.
Hmm.
and connections
Yeah.
to the Capitol in Nashville, Tennessee. Like the architects from Philadelphia, a lot of the fixtures from Philadelphia. Um, so I love history as well. So I like to take a lot of that, the culture in when I travel. In addition, and I speak sometimes about that during my broadcasts. So those were two of the Toronto excursions, and Nashville come to mind first.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
those are two locations that we need to visit too.
it's
Like,
funny you mentioned
We
about
were there, by the
the
way, at Nashville July 4th, over July
yeah.
4th. Our game was on
Right.
July 5th, and seeing the fireworks display on Broadway,
Oh
you
yeah.
I think there were over 200,000 people, they said, down there too. But go ahead.
no, so back in like this is like in the 90s, I went down there. You used to have nationals down at the one center down there, and it was open U.S. Opens, and I used to go down there. And during prelims, finals, sometimes if you didn't make it back, you were free. You didn't have to go back to the hotel. And I remember my mom and I went on a tour of the Capitol, and I remember you. That just jogged my memory because they were like, yeah, this design was from Philadelphia. I'm like, oh, Pennsylvania, okay. And there's like
Uh-huh.
all these
Hmm.
Pennsylvania
We even have
references.
a Liberty Bell replica outside,
Yeah, yeah. It's
outside the
very
Capitol building in Tennessee.
That's cool. I didn't
yeah.
even know
They used
that.
to have Opryland theme park, which was amazing, but that's no longer there.
Yeah, see, I've never been to Tennessee at all.
Yeah,
Like, so that's a trip I want to make at some point.
I'll tell you, Dave, just for us, one of my favorite times we had, obviously we had a couple this year with Columbus and a couple other,
Houston.
was Houston. And we
Yeah.
had that nice meal at that place right by the
Yes.
stadium. We were thinking, oh man, this menu looked good. We were telling you about the menu, and then it had the brunch menu, and we got there, we're like, oh, there's not as many
Yeah.
options. But that was a really cool place. And that's
Yeah.
just a fun conversation we had that
Yeah.
day.
Houston was, I enjoyed
I
our time in
really liked
Houston though.
Houston.
Yeah, that was,
Houston
First
was
off, I got to applaud you guys for going on the road
yeah.
and spending your hard-earned dollars and traveling, and us to have a meal there was awesome because that way that livened our spirits because Houston during the summer that in the weekends is dead.
it
That
really
downtown
It
is
was.
was
dead.
though. Yeah.
When I jogged around that city, and I went around,
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
to all the different parks. And I'm talking, I couldn't see the Houston Texans stadium because that's inside, but I saw, what did I see? I saw obviously Dynamo,
Yeah.
the Astros, and the Rockets, right? Toyota Center, I believe it's the Rockets play. You can jog or walk.
Hmm.
To all,
Yeah.
and then I jogged to the aquarium and to this and then that. There was just, and they have a whole underground system that apparently you can't go in the weekends. You can only go through the office buildings, but there was nothing there. You could see like the tumbleweeds going by, and I'm joking,
Yeah.
obviously. So to see you guys down there and others was cool. And it wasn't, it rained when we first got there. It wasn't as hot the day that we got in because it rained. Maybe the day of the game. We had a cool low booth there too. Remember
Yeah.
your press box
Yeah.
was right. Our booth
Yeah.
was like we can yell at someone in the field and they can turn around and hear us.
Yeah.
So that was cool. We were towards the end, but you'll never hear me complain because I love traveling.
Yeah.
I'm grateful that we get to travel as a commentary
Yeah.
team. So the booths are the booths. Some views are better than the others. That's just what it is. But
Right.
especially as the visiting crew. So yeah, that was great that we shared that meal there, and I got to see you guys, and it was fun. It's
Yeah.
always a cool new stadium.
It
Yeah.
was. You're right about the downtown because
It was dead that
we
night.
went
Like Saturday
Saturday
night,
night. We went
it was
downtown to this
dead.
place that had like what was it, over like 120 beers on tap, and we wanted to check it out. It was like
Yeah.
pizza,
It was
and then
good. It
we
was real
we
good.
decided to walk back to the hotel from where we were at, and
It was so
it
dead in
was
the
a
city.
beautiful city,
Oh,
but
I
there
love,
was like
yeah.
no one
Like
there.
that main street they had,
But the
with the
fountains,
fountains and like on the rail, the light
Yeah.
rail there,
I mean, Frisco, even like Frisco, we went to Frisco, beautiful,
Yeah.
love
newer,
We
Frisco.
were there for
beautiful
the next
home.
Pro Cup. Yeah. Frisco was cool.
The training facility for FC Dallas is
Hmm.
awesome, but like
Yeah.
again, when I was doing my jog, like near their golf courses and stuff up their main
Yeah,
road, there's not a
Hmm.
lot to do. We took in a Texas Rangers game the day before, but that was a little bit of an Uber ride away. But that
yep,
was I was privileged to be able to do that the day before the game. And that's cool. And that's what I like to do is to get out and learn about the community and the culture of the areas that we travel to. We went to every place but the Vancouver game. And we all know that result in Vancouver. And Shannon and I called that one from 97.5. But everybody else, everywhere else we've been this year, which, as a commentary team, we're very honored to say that. And we're thankful the union gives us that opportunity to go on the road with the team under the charter. And like I said, from my position, I'm grateful to be a part of this family.
for sure. And we're just grateful for the stories and be able to travel and cover the team like
100%.
you are.
Yeah.
So, final question. Um, if the Union were to win the MLS Cup, what what's the storyline? Like what happens? Like how do the Union, and we kind of talked about the strengths, weaknesses, but what happens? Union win the cup if such happens.
I think the Union win the cup. I think defensively, if they're as strong as they were during the regular season, albeit we talked about some of the games that, there were
Yeah,
some late
yeah.
goals allowed, allowing a league low 35 goals, the 14 clean sheets, pulling out some of the 1-0 games that we've referenced tonight, staying in games to allow themselves to score those late goals. I'm always, maybe it's just the old soccer player in me too. I'm like a defense guy first. I think the scoring will come.
Yeah.
Uh, this team does have the capability. Granted, they played the DC team that was out, but they can put up a crooked number. Albeit
Oh
not
yeah.
6 goals every time, but you know what I mean.
Oh,
Multi-goal,
for sure.
multi-goal performance. Um, I just think that defensively, and all these games are at home. If we're all on same page, reading the game perfectly or close to perfect, and us being at home, I really feel like that's going to be an advantage.
For
I
sure.
think that's going to be a story this year as to them hoisting MLS Cup.
Hmm.
Uh, you mentioned all the different goal scorers, and that attests to the depth, and that is absolutely a great point.
Mhm.
But um, it's the commitment against the ball from all the outfield players. And, I'll use like just a simple term or phrase, turning like defense into offense, dispossessing the opponent,
Hmm.
go at their throat. And that's what we do best. Bradley will say like, goals come by 60% transition, 30% set pieces, 10% in possession. And I think that, excuse me, I think that is going to be key. Transition, set pieces too. I mean, come on, how good is Kai Wagner set pieces?
Right.
Or Milanovsky now coming in, whoever's going to take it. A Glesnes ripping it maybe from 35 yards to the upper left of the opposing keeper. I can't wait.
Hmm.
So um, if they hoist the trophy, I'm gonna look at the defense first. That's what comes to mind when you ask me that question.
That's kind of where I'm going with that too. I think it's going to be Blake making some timely saves. It's going to be Frankie, McCanya, Nathan, Wagner, Glesnes,
Yeah.
Danley, Jovan, Damiani doing great hold up play.
He doesn't get enough credit, I
He
think,
doesn't
for
get
that.
enough
Yeah.
credit for his defensive work rate. And then
You know
it's
what we
going to,
don't call their names when they're like, in possession, trying to get service to those
Yeah.
guys. The work rate of a Damiani Baribo,
Yeah.
of Akua. Um, the amount of running that an Vasilev does. Now you bring in Eloski and his commitment on and off the ball in transition. Whether he played as a striker or as a 10. I know the injury to Quinny sucks. I
Hmm.
hope Quinn's doing well with his recovery. The same with Raffanello with the hamstring.
Right.
Uh, and we don't know. There could be guys that are also banged up too that are playing through it here. Remember Nate with the AC joint with the shoulder, uh,
Yes.
from DC. Blake, the groin, the adductor, the knee. It goes on. Wagner with a finger, with the knee. I mean, there's so many.
But I think at this point in the
I'm so
season,
I'm so proud of this group. The way that Kyle, everybody thought that they would be nothing this year, and I shouldn't say everybody. That's not fair. A lot
I
of people, a
I get
lot
what
of
you're
people
saying.
thought they would be nothing. And I always say, if I was a national broadcaster, I would not want to be in a position to say, okay, pick this team here that, predict their season. It's kind of unfair to do that. And I think that a lot of people didn't give the Union a chance. And this team proved many, I shouldn't say everybody, proved many wrong, including the fan base, including
For
the fan
sure.
base.
Hmm.
A lot of the fan base. Some people bought in, yeah, and that's okay. And some media too. There's a lot
Well,
of friends in the media.
we always joke. I had him at 48 points, and hey, look what they have.
Yeah.
So
Well, they had last year. Was it 39?
yeah,
Something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Uh, and you got 66 to win the Shield this year. I mean, look how good the Eastern Conference is this year. You know,
Hmm.
they 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 are so drastically different than last year. You got Hell is Real as a round one matchup of
Yeah.
Columbus and Cincinnati. I mean, come on, how great is that? I mean,
I mean,
that's Nashville, Miami.
that's
You got Charlotte, New York City, the two going at each other that split this year. These are great Eastern Conference matchups.
I mean, the Eastern Conference is so solid. Like I said a couple weeks back, I wouldn't be surprised you saw another 8, 9 seed make it to the MLS Cup, and that's not saying that. I mean, it's anything's possible.
Remember what I said about throwing the seeds out the window, and that goes
Yep.
for the
Yep.
Western Conference too. Uh,
Yep.
I don't, I really don't. Once this first round starts, I don't put too much stock into the seeds. I really
No, I
don't.
don't either.
You
No,
look at the
it's
matchup, you look at
yeah.
what's the team's strengths, what's the team's weakness, and how does the other exploit that during the course of the 90 minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. It's kind of like it resets. Like you just gotta like take it as okay, you know what? Forget what happened early in the season because, you know,
yeah,
this
if you
is new.
play Chicago and you say, yeah, we've routed them a bunch and we swept them this year and we get all these clean
Hmm.
sheets, great. But I mean, such a potent attack. And you said it earlier, both of you. Orlando's some terrific guns too.
Hmm.
Big
They
time
do.
players. They've been in the playoffs, a proven commodity. I think it's an Orlando team when they first came into MLS from USL. They didn't make the playoffs from like 15 to 19. Oscar comes in, they make the playoffs since 2020 to this point, six
Mhm.
straight years, which I believe correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's an MLS. I think it's the best run in MLS right now, six consecutive seasons. I believe I read that. Um,
Mm.
you can fact check me on that, but I'm pretty sure it's something to
Hmm.
that nature. And, Chicago hasn't been in the playoffs since 17.
Yeah.
See?
So, new teams from the year ago to this point. New
Yeah.
coach with Berhalter, new coach with Bradley Carnell, and now we'll see what the Union are geared up for the playoffs. I got to tell you, as a broadcaster, these are the moments that you kind of put your head on the pillow, waiting, and say, man, I can't wait to get in that stadium and rip into that open and just and then that first whistle to get the game going.
Mhm.
And I'm the moments that we live for, right? And the moments for
Mhm.
both of you covering the team, or being in the stands, with all our friends. Like like a lot of people said to me, Last thing I'll say, I know you guys getting ready to wrap, but a lot of folks said to me during the before the New York City game, a lot of people were nervous and
Hmm.
had it in their stomach before the game, and I said, that's the feeling that you want to have because you didn't have that feeling a year ago.
You didn't.
It's true.
You weren't in the playoffs. Um, you want like someone I worked with, and I'm name dropping, like Billie Jean King, one of my World Team Tennis
Hmm.
background, that big plaque,
Yeah,
her
Yeah.
pressure is a privilege. It really is.
it
And I
really
think
is.
all of us covering the game, broadcasting, if you have that nervousness in the stomach, that means you care. Before I go on air, whether I do things for ESPN, the US Open, whatever, the union, I could do it thousands of times. But when I have that kind of my stomach's a little queasy or whatever, I'm excited.
Hmm.
I'm nervous.
Mhm.
But then when you get into it, you just go. And that's what the union need to do. And that's what the fans need to do is like that nervous feeling, it's okay. It's expected. And you should want that feeling. You want to experience
Hmm.
that uneasiness. But then it's go time, baby.
Yeah.
Hopefully we go on
Yes.
a massive run.
Hope so. I mean, my goodness. Nothing, helped me like the Eagles winning the Super Bowl this past season, like get over that loss in 2022, that the Eagles had, that heartbreaking loss to Kansas City, then, they won that Super Bowl. I would like to
Right.
exercise the demon that is 2022 for the Union. This could be it.
We don't have the Brandon Graham coming back though for
I
us, right?
know. I'm so excited I love Brandon Graham. Just
BG.
his trash talk alone, you know, is
Who's that?
epic.
Who's this? We had Oscar and
Oh,
then who?
that's Shadow. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, Shadow.
Yeah, he's bad because we don't usually let him in here when we're recording because he has taken down the whole setup with his tail. He'll walk by and his tail will take all the cords.
Just like our
Or he fights with the
Raquino.
other,
Yes.
yeah, or he'll like fight with Oscar and like start like, having
Oh,
WrestleMania, but yeah.
Yeah, he's
like
he's
Homeward Bound. You have Chance, Shadow.
yeah.
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 Remember that movie? Yeah,
Yeah, we got all
adorable.
three of our cats are kind of hanging out in this vicinity right now.
I
So
mean,
So yeah.
I mean, to see, what I want to see now, being a Philly guy,
Hmm.
mhm.
played soccer growing up, broadcast in high school in front of nobody, college at Indiana with the men's women's team, historic programs. Now professionally, not just MLS, but also in other, college on national TV, other leagues at ASL back then when I filled in on some Cosmo games. I mean, now I want to see Philadelphia and the surrounding areas, New Jersey, Delaware, parts of Maryland, wherever you're from, around the country, around the world, just support this team.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I hope the market, now speaking of Philly, I hope the market gives them justice. I'm going to go on some morning shows on Friday promoting the heck out of the
Mhm.
game and the playoffs and the union. Um, and I want people to understand that I know I love the Phillies, Flyers, Sixers, and Eagles just as much as anybody. And I
Hmm.
have friends that cover those teams or broadcasters of those teams or people I look up to. And I just want some of those people to give some props to the union for how good we've done. And if they didn't follow us during the year, which there could be a lot of them in our market, that games are on TV behind a paywall. It is what it is. We don't need to go down that whole
Right.
conversation, but
Hmm.
and that took away a lot of people. We're grateful to be doing them on radio and give a local product, but I hope now people can come together through the soccer team because they really are emblematic of a lot that we've talked about tonight with the players, the coaches, of the fighting spirit of the city. And that's what I'm excited about. I want to see like just everybody from the Delaware Valley come together through the union. And I am praying this team can go on a run, and because everything's going through that building except game two of the first round, everything would be at home. And
Yes.
just the buzz, the electricity around that stadium would be a delight.
100%. And just what a way for the union to put themselves on the map. And I do hope that a lot of people tune in and, you know, Yes, please, everyone, jump on the bandwagon. It's a great time. Lots of
Spread the
room.
word to your friend. I'll tell you, I see so
Yes.
many up here. I'm from Bucks County, PA, and even from a little distance from the stadium. And I'm sure I know you guys come from even a greater distance. And
Yeah.
Todd Lewis comes from
Yeah.
even a greater distance.
Yeah.
Like I see
We see
so much
people.
union stuff out there, and
Yeah.
people, even if they don't go to games, the kids are wearing the gear. I'm big in
Oh
my
yeah.
local.
I see him at
You
my school where I teach. One kid will wear union stuff all the time. Although today he was wearing a Inter Miami Messi jersey, and I gave him
know,
grief about it, and so did his friends. They're like, "What the heck, dude?" But um, yeah. So I'm like, dude, I know you're a Union
got to
fan,
make an
but
extra
anyway.
omelet in your class.
Yes, right.
But yeah, so no, it's building, and I think this could go a long way if they go on this run.
Well,
So
they're having a pep rally. It's
yeah,
at City
Thursday.
Hall,
I
which I
know.
love. I
I
love
wish
seeing that.
Oh, I know. I wish it wasn't at like 12 to 2 on a Thursday, but I get
That's
it. They're
it could be a
restricted
city
with,
thing. You
yeah,
got
I think they're
you
restricted
playing
with,
Saturday that you
Exactly.
guys will be at. It's all bringing different organizations together and making it.
yeah.
But happy they're doing something. In the
Oh,
city, just like you would
100%.
see for like the Phillies or the Eagles, and
Yeah,
um, and that's good because the union, as my computer's falling, the union deserve it.
100%.
The union deserve it. So I'm hoping that people just band together and guys, I really believe in this. I know people are saying he's the union broadcaster. Just saying, I see a lot, been around a lot of teams in my young career. Um, this team's got a shot.
They
Give
do.
them
No,
this team's got
having
a shot.
been having covered this team. Sorry to cut you off there, Dave.
Oh,
But
good.
having been on this team this year, talking to
Hmm.
players like you, myself, Jillian have, and others, it's a special team, and
It is a
there's
special
something
team.
A lot of people didn't
special.
think they could win the Shield. A lot of
Nope.
people thought it was going to be Cincy,
No,
Miami. They did it. Yeah, you could say
so
they got some help too, but they did it. More so, they did it.
Hmm.
Um,
th they got as good a shot as anybody to win
Yes.
this thing.
Yes, they do.
Really do.
absolutely.
So,
And I know the building's going to be, capacity crowd on
Hmm.
Sunday, fired up, and I think the team's going to put out a show.
Yeah.
And
I do.
if they put regardless of who we play, if they put a resounding result game one,
Hmm.
It's going to go a
look at
long way.
Yes, 100%.
Anyway, Dave,
yes.
it's been wonderful. Year
As
three on.
always.
Thank you for your time. Where can people find you at?
Yeah, so on social media at Dave Leno TV, on Twitter, X, whatever you call it, Instagram. You can follow our broadcast. I will have the call of this game one matchup Sunday, starting at 5:30, a longer pregame, which is great, where we play interviews with Bradley Carnell. Might be able to get a player because this is a longer pregame as well. Thoughts with our analysts too, and then calling the game. 5:30, kickoffs around 5:55 on Sunday on 97.5 The Fanatic, Apple TV. We'll also have the home radio feed option if you want to hear us over the pictures of the game, just
Hmm.
traditional radio on 97.5 FM on the 97.5 app. Alexa, play 97.5 The Fanatic on the radio. You can hear that on your Alexa. The app, I tell people a lot because it's completely free,
Hmm.
and it comes across crystal clear. We have a great mix. And if you want to hear the guy that's having fun on the call, I'm going to tell you it like it is, but is going to get fired up for our union. I'm your guy on the play-by-play, and with our great crew, work with so many fantastic folks: Sebastian Latouche, Shana Williams, Marty Dickerson, so many different engineers, um, and our producer Ray Dunnis came in from 97.5. Well,
Yeah.
our old producer Kyle Morello, who left. A group of interns that we've worked with. I go down the list: Rodney Bird at 97.5, Betsy Deming, others that have worked with us in the booth. I'm a small part in the play, even though I'm the play-by-play guy. And I really appreciate you having me on. And you know how highly I speak of both of you personally and professionally. And continue to do great things in this media space. The union know your stuff and the time and the effort that you put in with the first team. Like I started the night, the first team, the second team, the academy. Um, you guys put out great content and information. And I just want to say, people notice, keep up the awesome work.
I
We
appreciate that so much. And hey, we love your calls. And the enthusiasm and knowledge that you bring to it. So
We
my
appreciate everything you've done to help us as well.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
uh,
Hoping for lots of great Union goal calls on Sunday.
here we go.
I want to do a lot
So,
of
Yes.
this for those that are watching,
Yes.
hands in
Yeah.
the air and high-fiving people and getting loud. And you can hear it
Yeah.
across the bridge. You are.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, let's get it done, guy.
Yes.
I
I'm
hear
so
you.
fired up for this first game. I can't wait to hear that stadium rocking.
Super pumped. Super pumped. Should
Well,
be hopefully a really great weekend. Union 2 playoff game on Saturday and the Union on Sunday. Subaru Park should be rocking.
so the playoff season's here.
Yeah.
And until next time, this has been an all new episode of the One Team We Agree On.
Yeah, make sure to like and subscribe and follow us on our socials. You can find us on at TOTWAG on Twitter and on Blue Sky. And we are on Instagram at the One Team We Agree On and our YouTube channel. We got our website, theoneteamweagreeon.com. You can find us on our individual socials, silly double underscore Jilly, Coach Almany. And, once again, thank you, Dave Leno, for coming on. Always a treat. And yeah, let's see what happens this weekend. Hopefully real good.
Yep. And until next time, I'm Kyle.
I'm Jillian.
We'll see you at the game.